Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Press the Meat. And we have here as our next guest is a fellow named Bob. And you may all have heard about Bob at the RNC, the Republican National Convention, as he was thrown out protesting against John McCain. Now, we would like to talk with Bob now, and Bob, let me before we start, let me ask you, what about the box on your head?
It's a box. It's just a box. It's just.
Now you say it's just a box. Now, do you mean that, in the literal sense, that it is just a box? Are you referring to it as the fact that life itself is a box, that the political system is a box, and that you feel like you are boxed into this political system?
I'm really not that deep. I just wear a box over my head because I'm ugly.
Now you say ugly. How ugly are you? That's a
Well,
pretty big box.
My wife said I was a two-bagger. but-
Two-bagger. Would you please explain that? And there are some people at home that probably don't understand the term two-bagger. Would you please explain that to our folks at home?
Some people wear one bag. Some people break that bag, so they wear two bags. And I broke both the bags.
And then what happens?
You wear a box, and you feel ashamed.
Now, the shame you talk about, is this something that you've grown up with, or is this something that's just a latent box obsession? We're losing our feed.
You feel you feel bad about it when you break both bags and it kills your wife.
Now, when you say it kills your wife, do you mean that she found it funny?
A little bit of funniness and hideousness and both bags broke. I really don't want to talk about it.
Now, when you say you don't want to talk about it and that both bags broke, how does that connect with your relationship to the Republican National Convention and the protest thereof? Picture's going dim.
They're two separate issues, Bob.
Really? Would you explain them?
Well, for one thing, I'm ugly. And two, I was at the...
Now, wait a minute, Bob. You say ugly. Now, is that your words, or does somebody else say you're ugly? Has there ever been a vote taken on whether or not you're ugly?
Well, it's written inside the box, and I read it constantly. It says, "You're ugly."
Okay. Well, I guess then we can take it on your word that you are ugly. Now, would you call that ugly, or would you call that fugly?
I'd call it two broken bags ugly in a box.
Really? Okay, now, what does this have to do with you and the Republican National Convention?
Well, if I wasn't so ugly, I wouldn't have been there.
Are you saying now that Republicans are generally an ugly sort of person?
I'm not saying that. It's kind of hard to see through this box.
Well, it kind of sounds that way to me. When you say you were at the Republican National Convention because you're ugly, it sounds to me like you're making an accusation that Republicans are ugly people. What do you say about that, Bob?
Look, Bob, I woke up that morning and I put the box on my head like I do every morning because I'm two bags broken ugly. I put on the box and I headed down to Burger King
Burger King? Why would you go to Burger King?
because I thought I was headed to McDonald's for a burger in a box. The Big Mac, you know.
Now, is it the fact that you want a Big Mac because you sort of identify with the name Big Mac?
No, it's because I like burgers in box, just like I like my head in a box.
Really? And now, as a child, did you wear your head in a box?
Bob, we're getting off course.
No, I don't think we are, Bob. I think you're avoiding the issue. The issue is you are wearing a box on your head, and I want to know why you do that. What does this have to do with the Republican National Convention, and why were you protesting, and why were you actually thrown off the floor of the Republican National Convention for wearing a box?
Like I said, I was headed to Burger King, but I had my box on backwards that day, Bob. And I didn't dare take it off in public, so I just figured I'd keep walking like I knew where I was going.
And did you?
Of course not. I had my box on backwards.
Is this a common thing for you?
Very common.
Very common. So you constantly have your box on backwards.
That's correct.
Okay, now tell me this then. When you went to the RNC, that's the Republican National Convention, were you indeed that day wearing your box backwards?
I was.
Why is that? Was that out of protest?
I thought I was going to Burger King and I just ended up there.
Ended up where?
The Republican National Convention.
Yeah, so you were hungry.
Very.
Uh-huh. So now, let me see if I've got this right. You get up in the morning, you broke your 2 bags, you put on your box backwards, you walked out of the house frontwards, you went to Burger King, you missed it completely, ended up at the Republican National Convention, and then made outrageous statements that enraged the entire country.
Well, I didn't do that. I bumped into John McCain and I asked him for 2 burgers.
You asked John McCain for 2 burgers.
I thought he was a Burger King employee.
Was that with cheese?
I don't know, I had my box on backwards.
Well, you may have had your box on backwards, but let me tell you something. When you order a burger from John McCain, you either want it with cheese or without cheese. Come on, give us the story.
I like my burgers without cheese.
You like your burgers without cheese. And you call yourself a Democrat? You call yourself a Democrat? Democrats always eat cheese. Put your head up. You do have your box on backwards.
Now I have to take it off.
No, please don't do that.
I have to take it
These
off.
cameras are very expensive.
I can't see, I have to take
These
it off.
cameras are very expensive. Don't take the box. Bob, don't take the box off.
Take it off.
Don't do it, Bob. We've got $50,000 cameras here, and if you take that box off,
I have to take it off.
Bob, what? Okay, before you do, let's work blind here for a minute, if you will. What happened between you and John McCain?
I asked him for 2 burgers and he said he was John McCain.
And did that surprise you?
Yes.
Why?
Because I thought his name was Bob. You know, the Bob that worked
Bob
at Burger King.
McCain? You thought he was Bob McCain, the manure salesman?
I can't see, I need to take my box off.
All right, cameraman, excuse me a moment. I'm gonna, Ed, would you tell the cameraman to be prepared to shut down if necessary? We're gonna let Bob take his box off. Bob, go ahead. Well, Bob, that's not so bad. Are we done?
Yeah.